US diplomat speaks out on political reform. Leung Chun-ying wades into currency debate. And taxi fares going up.
Good evening. US Consul General Clifford Hart today played down claims of American interference in Hong Kong's political development. He insists the road towards universal suffrage must be in line with the Basic Law. Stephanie Choi reports.
The American diplomat insisted today the U.S. position on genuine universal suffrage in Hong Kong has not changed. Clifford Hart also made clear the U.S. does not side with any particular group here, and he played down suggestions that Washington was interfering in local affairs.
We, of course, defer to the people of Hong Kong, their elected representatives in political parties, civil society, the SAR government, and the central government of the People's Republic of China.
Hart also emphasized that in supporting one country, two systems, the U.S. values both political development in Hong Kong and constructive relations with Beijing.
The United States has repeatedly made clear that it supports Hong Kong's progress toward genuine universal suffrage, as laid out in the Basic Law and the National People's Congress's 2007 decision.
But the diplomat was also careful not to cross the line.
I don't think you'll see me speaking in detail to local Hong Kong politics. I don't think it'd be appropriate. I don't think I'm going to be instructed to do that. So I assume that my comments would continue to occur at this level of general policy.
His comments follow criticism by Beijing that foreign countries were interfering in Hong Kong's constitutional development. Today, Hao Chie-chun, publicity director of the central government's liaison office, wrote another newspaper article, this time accusing Britain of doing just that. It followed a recent opinion piece by British official Hugo Swire that Britain stands ready to support Hong Kong towards universal suffrage. Howe accused London of trying to interfere in local affairs even after the handover. Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
The chief executive has rejected calls for Hong Kong to scrap its currency and use the renminbi as legal tender. Leung Chun-ying also played down concerns that a free trade zone in Shanghai will affect the city's role as an international financial centre.
The Shanghai Free Trade Zone is keeping Hong Kong on its toes. It will be the mainland's experiment on the free exchange of the renminbi, and that could affect Hong Kong's status as an offshore renminbi trading hub. Just a month before Hong Kong celebrates its 10th anniversary of being granted the privilege of conducting renminbi business here, mainland academics suggest the SAR should drop the Hong Kong dollar and use the renminbi as legal tender. But Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying assured the city today that the Hong Kong dollar is the legal currency here as stipulated in the Basic Law. Speaking before the weekly Executive Council meeting, Leung stressed that Hong Kong has obvious advantages it can make use of as the country's international financial centre. He said the city has a high degree of internationalisation, openness and rule of law, which are assets for continued economic development. To bolster further economic cooperation with other cities, Leung will be leading a delegation of about 90 people to Chongqing on Thursday. The delegation, which includes government officials, trade representatives and members of the Trade Development Council, will also visit Guangxi in November and Fujian next January. There are now reports Beijing will open Shanghai's free trade zone to certain websites that are banned elsewhere on the mainland, including the New York Times website and social networking sites such as Facebook and Twitter, to attract more foreign investment.
And the chief executive in council has approved a rise in charges for urban, new territories and Lantau taxis. The flagpole charge at the beginning of the journey will increase by $2. And the incremental charge after the first 2 kilometres will go up by an extra 10 cents. Additional charges for each piece of baggage and animal will be increased by $1. The amended charges will be reviewed by the Legislative Council on October 16th. If approved, the new fares will take effect on December the 8th.
The District Court ruled today that a former supporter of Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying, who's accused of perverting the course of justice, will not be allowed to leave Hong Kong for the time being. The hearing involving Liu Monhong will resume in December. The ICAC has accused the former deputy chairman of listed company Pearl Oriental Oil of trying to get Leung and the head of the anti-graft body, Simon Pei, to end an investigation into him. The judge today rejected a request by Liu to change his bail conditions so that he could visit his ailing father on the mainland for about 3 weeks next month. Liu is out of bail until his next court hearing on December the 2nd, which is expected to last 8 days. Well, former Chief Secretary for Administration Raphael Hui is facing more legal woes. The Bank of East Asia has applied to the High Court to have Hui declared bankrupt. In April, the bank filed a writ to claim millions of dollars in unpaid debts. 2 other banks and a finance company owned by Sun Hung Kai Properties are also suing Hui for money owed. He's facing charges of corruption and misconduct in public office in one of the city's most high-profile graft cases. The trial of Hui and 4 others, including the joint chairman of Sun Hung Kai Properties, will open in May at the High Court. Iran will join 5 other countries, including the United States, for talks on the country's nuclear program during meetings at the United Nations this week. The talks will be the highest level contact between Tehran and Washington in 6 years. Here's Alan Buckner.
Iranian President Hassan Rouhani is scheduled to address the UN General Assembly later today. Rouhani is considered a relative moderate among the country's hardline clerical leaders. And just hours after he left Tehran for New York, Iran's government announced it had freed 80 prisoners arrested in political crackdowns. At the world body, preliminary talks had already started. British Foreign Secretary William Hague met yesterday with Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif.
While welcoming recent announcements on the release of some political prisoners in Iran, which I do welcome, I raised our continuing concerns about human rights in Iran.
Hague said he also welcomed Rouhani's recent statements about Iran's desire to improve relations with the outside world.
So the time is now right for those statements to be matched by concrete steps by Iran to address the international community's concerns about Iran's intentions. And if such steps are taken, then I believe a more constructive relationship can be created between us.
Zarif met with several other European diplomats as well. While tempering enthusiasm, the European Union's foreign policy chief said she is encouraged.
What I saw today was energy and determination to try and move forward in our talks. Many things flow from that, but this was the first meeting in order to establish how we would work together. I don't add any more to it than that.
The UN Security Council has imposed 4 rounds of sanctions against Iran because of its nuclear program. Iran has repeatedly said its program is only for producing energy and is hoping to get some relief from the sanctions. Alan Buckner, TVB News.
Welcome back. An Egyptian court has banned the Muslim Brotherhood from carrying out any activities in the country and ordered the seizure of the group's funds. The order by the court widens the campaign to debilitate the Islamist movement of ousted President Mohamed Morsi. The army-backed government is waging the toughest crackdown on the group in decades. Hundreds of Muslim Brotherhood supporters have been killed in mass protests since Morsi was deposed in early July. The court's explanation gave few specific legal grounds beyond saying the group had used Islam as a cover while it violated citizens' rights.
Cabinet ministers from more than a dozen European countries have signed a declaration in Rome condemning racism. It was a show of support for Congolese-born Cécile Kyenge, Italy's first black cabinet minister. She's faced racist taunts ever since she was appointed in April, including slurs from Italy's xenophobic Northern League party. The ministers signed the declaration condemning racism as counterproductive to Europe's democratic principles. They call the attacks unacceptable, particularly because they came from politicians.
And back locally now, 2 mainland tourists have been arrested for credit card fraud. Police say the suspects spent tens of thousands of dollars using fake credit cards. Rani Samtani has more.
The two men, aged 28 and 30 years old, came to Hong Kong with a tour group from Sichuan province on Sunday. They were arrested early this morning at a hotel in Aberdeen and were taken into custody for questioning. According to the police, the pair used fake credit cards 3 times within the span of 1 hour while shopping in Tsim Sha Tsui last night. They bought a diamond ring and 2 watches worth between $60,000 and $70,000. The shop where the men purchased the items later realized the cards were fake and reported the crime to the police later that evening. After initial investigations, officers say they found more than 40 fake cards in the suspect's hotel room, some of which were of poor quality. The counterfeit cards did not use embossed lettering and did not have credit card security features. Along with the ring and watches, police found a camera and tripod worth $13,000. Officers suspect these items were also bought using the forged cards. 2 burnt credit cards were also found in the hotel room. Officers believe they were destroying evidence to cover up the crimes. Police haven't ruled out the possibility the tourists are part of a syndicate. The evidence gathered so far suggests they made multiple purchases using several counterfeit cards. Yau Tsim Mong district police officers are now investigating where the fake credit cards were made. Ronnie Samtani, TVB News.
The government has played down media reports on the mainland that it will soon lift restrictions on infant milk powder for travellers. Health Chief Ko Wing-man says pressure tests will be conducted to help assess the situation. But as Vicky Kong reports, there's no timetable yet on the easing of restrictions.
Today, Secretary for Food and Health Ko Wing-man said the government will assess the situation before and after the upcoming National Day Golden Week holiday. But Ko said lifting the restrictions still needs LegCo's approval. He also assured local mothers that meeting their needs is the government's priority.
Authorities said they will look at market supply, hotline orders, and retail replenishment when assessing Hong Kong's export capacity. But as it's difficult to estimate the time needed for the assessment, no timetable was given.
Chairman of the Hong Kong General Chamber of Pharmacy, Lau Oi Kwok, said the government had approached the group several months ago. Lau said authorities requested retailers to reserve 36 cans of baby milk powder formula each day for local consumers. Local mothers can buy the products by presenting vouchers obtained from a designated mothers club. Vicky Kong, TVB News.
The North Lantau Hospital in Tung Chung opened its doors today. Residents there no longer need to travel a long distance for treatment. The North Lantau Hospital has begun providing day rehabilitation as well as accident and emergency services. Currently, A&E services are offered for 8 hours a day from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That will be extended to 16 hours a day in a few months, and 24-hour services will be available in the 3rd quarter of next year. And when A&E services are not available, patients will be redirected to other hospitals such as Princess Margaret Hospital. 2 new specialist outpatient clinics for medicine and psychiatry and a new community health centre will begin operation next Monday. And finally for tonight, it's a rare sight even in Sichuan province. 14 panda cubs have made their public debut for the first time. All the cubs were bred artificially at the Chengdu Giant Panda Breeding and Research Base in Sichuan. They were born between July and September and are being raised in 2 delivery rooms with glass windows that allow the public a glimpse. The oldest of the bunch, Meng Meng, weighs more than 3 kilos. That's 4 times as much as Ya Yi, the youngest. They are one of the world's endangered animals, with roughly 300 giant pandas in captivity throughout the world and fewer than 1,600 living in the wild in the country. They're so cute.
Very cute. Very cute. I want one.
Me too. That's the news for tonight. Thanks for watching.
Good night.